Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Women in Trades, the 4%. I'm your host, Hunter, also known as Some Welding Girl on social media. Today I have Paige here with me, and she is a concrete finisher and a residential builder. Thank you for joining me today, Paige. She is going to start us off by telling us how she got into her career.
Hi, I'm Paige. I started off in the trades about 3 years ago now. I was a straight A student in high school. I thought I had my entire life figured out. I knew exactly what I wanted to do from the minute I even had the idea of going to school. I wanted to be a veterinarian. And as I graduated high school, I was looking for some different colleges to go to, and I had my heart set on Michigan State University. And decided that that was the school that I had to go to. There was no other school that I could go to that was like the one for me. So when I applied to schools, something got messed up with my transcripts and I couldn't get into the fall semester and I got accepted into the spring semester. So I kind of went down this whole what am I going to do? I can't take a semester off of school. I have to start right away. Like, this has got to be it for me. And so I decided to go with a private school close to my hometown with a little bit of a different path they put me on. They put me on a biochemistry degree path instead of animal science. So I started down that and I was kind of like struggling a little bit because I just felt like maybe this wasn't what I wanted, but I had to do something because I couldn't take a semester off of school and put myself that much further behind with 8 years of school in mind. So I started down at this college, and one of my first classes that I ever took was organic chemistry. And that class just totally destroyed me. It was so hard. I ended up failing the class, and that was the first class that I ever failed in my life. And it was one of those things where it was like, I just blew my chance. I just blew my shot at vet school. I have no clue what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And it kind of sent me in like a really negative tailspin about my thoughts about college and what I was going to do, because in my mind, like, failing one class, there goes vet school, which it wasn't. I was just being a drama queen, and I thought I was, just that was the end for me. So I ended up taking a couple other classes at this school, but ultimately it just wasn't working out for me and I wasn't really clicking with the school and the other students there. So I decided to leave and pursue a different degree in business at a community college just to kind of get back on my feet, kind of like, I'm almost done with school at this point. I'm a junior. I'm like, okay, I can finish this. I'll figure out the rest of it. And I ended up just not really loving what I was going for and not really caring about school as much, and finding myself working more than going to class and deciding that it was just time for me to stop spending and wasting my money on school and just step away. So after that, I kind of went through this little space. I went and worked on Mackinac Island, which, if you're familiar with the island, it's all the way up at the top of the Lower Peninsula. And I did a summer up there, and I bartended for a couple different companies. The Grand Hotel was one, and then I went downtown onto the main street and worked on there for the rest of the season. And it was really fun, and I had a lot of fun, and I met a lot of really cool people, but it just like wasn't enough for me, and it didn't like fulfill me. And I'm like, I can't make this a career. There's no long-term benefits. There's no okay with this. Like, everything that you do in this industry, you have to be really, really good about your money. And so I was kind of like, that's not really going to be it either. And at the time, my dad had bought my grandpa out. My grandpa was ready to retire out of our family business, and so he had bought him out. We used to be Butcher Concrete and Masonry, and then he became Woodbridge Concrete and Construction. So my grandma at the time was teaching me how to do all of the booking and all the book stuff, and because I was taking my business degree. And then we ended up losing her to Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease in 2020. And so that was a really big, like, pivotal shift for me, losing my grandma, trying to decide, like, okay, well, the one person that supported me the most about like all of this is gone now, so I have to figure this out on my own. And I can't like leave my dad hanging at this point, by saying, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so see you later.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was just continuing to do the books for him while I was kind of trying to figure out this bartending thing. Maybe that's what I wanted to do, maybe not. And then one day I was like, you know what, Dad? I can't let the family business die with you, and I think this is what I want to do. And he was very supportive, very on board about it, and was like, if you want to, yeah, have at it. But you got to learn all of it. You got to work on the crew. You got to be in the work boots, you got to be out there learning it all. You have to be able to know everything from start to finish. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll see what it's all about. And that's kind of how I got into that part, into the actual working on the crew part of it. And then come to find out, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. And now I feel like this is where I belong. And this trade has been really, really fulfilling to me.
Yeah. I was like tearing up for a minute at your story because I relate in so many ways. I wanted to be a vet and I also wanted to go to MSU because if you're from Michigan, you know that it's like one of the best vet schools around here.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't end up doing that. I ended up doing nursing and I realized it wasn't for me. And then I went to business and I realized it wasn't for me. And then my mom passed away in 2018 and that's like what got me on the track to my trade to the trade. So yeah, I relate to that a lot. Like
Yeah, yeah. It was very hard, and I went through like a lot of serious mental health problems when I left college because I was a 4.0 student in school.
yep.
I was a part of all of these different things, FFA, all of this stuff, and I'm like, I'm a good student, you know? It just like completely changed who I thought I was, and it just really sent me into a tailspin about not knowing what to do with the rest of my life. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, man, I really got to have this, I got to have it figured out because at the time, I was 17, but looking back on it now, who has their life figured out at 17?
Yeah.
Nobody. So, yeah, it was just one of those things where I kind of bounced around a little bit until I found out what I wanted to do. And this was kind of just one of those, well, we'll give it a shot things. And then it ended up being one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life,
Yeah.
truly.
So what's your day-to-day work schedule like? Like what kind of job sites are you on and like what are your main duties at work right now?
So my day to day, I kind of have a cool job schedule because we don't really ever go to the same job site for very long. Like it's pretty rare that we stay on the job site for more than a week. So we get to see a lot of different places and a lot of different communities in our area. I'm in central Michigan. We're kind of based out of Breckenridge. So we're just west of Saginaw. So we
Okay.
get to go to Saginaw, we get to go north sometimes towards Mount Pleasant, south sometimes towards Lansing. So we bounce around to a lot of different spaces and get to see a lot of different, you know, job sites and people and interact with different customers. But normally we'll kind of like load up, get everything ready for the day. We'll head out to the job site, and then start getting at it, forming up pours, or if we're building something, wherever we left off the day before, we'll kind of pick up there. For the most part, I operate our equipment. Sometimes my dad does most of it, like when we prep pours and stuff. But when we dig in basement foundations, I run the excavator. I have my Class A CDL, so I run our dump truck. And I don't know, I kind of can operate everything that we have, but my preferred piece of equipment is definitely the excavator.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. So are there any other women at your company or are you the only one right now?
Just me. We have a small crew. We don't run a ton of guys. What we can kind of manage and like what we found is a good number. We keep usually 4 to 5 guys on. Right now we have two younger men who are in their like early 20s, and then we have an older guy that's closer to his 60s. His name's Richard. He's really cool. Shout out to Richard. He helps us out a ton. But no, I'm the only girl, but I do get to work with my dad every day, so you can't beat that. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
That's cool. As long as you guys get along. So I know some people can't work with their parents, but if you guys get along, like that's awesome. If you make a good team, it can work out really well.
Yeah, and he's been very, very supportive about me like pursuing the trades. He was really supportive about me going to college, and then once I decided to leave college, everybody was kind of like, "Oh, that's a little disappointing," but at the same time, I've found myself within this trade in our
Yeah.
company, and he's been just great. I mean, not everybody gets to say that they get to work with their dad every day, and not every girl gets to say that their dad supports them working in the trades. And
True.
I'm very,
Yeah.
very lucky that I have him because he is definitely like one of my biggest reasons to keep pushing.
Yeah.
Our family business is fourth generation with me. My grandpa owned a ready mix plant in Merrill, so like the concrete plant.
Mhm.
And then my grandpa owned his own concrete business, and then my dad bought him out. And eventually, when my dad's ready to retire, I'll buy him out. So Not a lot of people can say that they can, take over a fourth generation family business, but be a woman at the same time.
Are you his only child?
No, I'm not. I have two brothers. They're both younger than me. One works
Oh,
in Lansing as a diesel mechanic, and the other one works and lives in Mount Pleasant. So,
cool. He's probably so proud of you then. He's like, and my daughter's doing like that's awesome.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, I try to make him proud every day.
Yeah.
He's taught me so much about the business, and he's really pushed me to learn more and do more and be more and go out to women in construction events and interact with other women in the trades, but really just like at the end of the day, I'm just so lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
hmm
So a lot of women struggle to find good work boots and stuff. So what are some brands that you really recommend for viewers that either give you a lot of comfort or have lasted like a long time for you, whether it be like boots or clothes?
So, the first pair of work boots I ever bought were Carhartt, and I I'm really hard on my boots because a lot of what we do, we drag I drag my feet across concrete a lot when we're
Mhm.
finishing. So the toes of my boots always blow out. And I got the mock toe, kind of like the Irish setter look,
Yep.
um, of the Carhartt boots, and I think they lasted me like 6 months.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, okay, try something different. I tried the Ariat work boots. Those ones were better, but the concrete dries out the leather so bad, and if you don't condition the leather often, then they just crack and split, and that's what happened to me with those ones. I finally found a pair that I swear by, and that is the Timberland Pros. I think they're called Pit Bosses or something like that. They're my favorite pair of work boots. They're so comfy. They're easy to break in. They last forever. So that's probably my favorite pair of
So
all
I was
time.
a diehard like Timberland girl before I even joined the trades. Like I wore the fashion kind that aren't steel toe. So
Yeah,
obviously like my first pair of work boots was also Timberland Pros. Like this is not sponsored. Timberland has never paid me. This is and
but if they
they
want to
last
sponsor, hit us up.
yeah, if you do want to sponsor us. But no, literally mine they lasted a good year probably too, which is for work boots, if I can get a whole year out of it, I'm pretty happy. Like,
Yeah, I think I replaced the laces on mine like 6 times and they were still kicking.
yeah.
Like, how many laces am I gonna go through before these things finally blow out? And they're still going. But
That's how the Brunt workwear, because Brunt they sent me boots and they sent me a pair of not steel toe boots. And I was like, well, like these are great, but I really can't wear these at work. Like I need steel toes. So they
yeah,
did send me like another pair. And it's been a year and a half and they're still pretty much in perfect condition. But I walk on the insides of my feet and it like has worn down the sole there. So
yeah.
yeah.
I've wanted to try the Brunt ones and I've been waiting for my Timberlands to blow out so I could buy those ones, but they just won't blow out on me. So I don't
Yeah.
know when I'll get a chance to try them, but yeah, I think that's my next pair that I want to try.
The only thing I don't like about them, and this is for like any viewers as well, is I have little feet. I mean, I have average size feet for a woman. I wear a women's size 8, and I think the smallest size that they make, because they don't make a women's steel toe. They only make it in the men's, which okay, but the men's size only goes down to like an 8 or something. So like it just barely fit me. So if you have like very small feet, they probably won't like fit certain people.
Yeah. I don't know. The Timberlands gotta those are my tried and true right now. We'll see.
I'm surprised that you said that because I haven't seen a lot of other people that wore them, and I never thought that they were that bad. Like I thought they were really good for the most part. Like
Yeah. For the I like other clothes that I wear for the most part. I've tried the Ariat jeans, but I've got thick thighs, and every pair of jeans I wear just blows right out in the thighs, and they don't last more than a year. So, I've tried their I think it's called Rebar is their like work line for
yeah,
women. I like those ones, but we work outside throughout the winter, and there's not a lot to them. They're good in the summer, but they're not like as good in the winter in terms of like keeping you warm. You definitely have to wear long johns or something underneath of them. So, but I guess their Rebar brand is pretty durable. But if you're hard on clothes and you're moving around a lot, I don't know. I haven't found anything yet that I've swore by in terms of pants, work pants.
yeah.
I've seen the dovetail, I think is what they're called. Those are supposed to be a little bit more durable, but I haven't had the chance to try them yet, so.
I really wanna try those out. I was, like, a Carhartt work pant stan, but, like, I like to be able to buy them in person,
Mhm.
and where I live in Southern Michigan, and where I live, like, there's not a Boot Barn anywhere around here. There's a Blaine's Farm and Fleet, and that's where I can buy women's Carhartt work pants. And they made them all skinny jeans. Like they're
Yeah.
skinny. They used to be like really nice and like boot cut work pants, and now I'm like, why are these skinny? I do not want my calves defined on a job site.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody needs to see that. I'm not trying to impress anybody out here.
No, I'm like, they look so weird with work boots too. I'm like, I don't know why Carhartt changed their pants. They need to bring back the good ones.
Yeah. Well, they put out those leggings a couple years ago, and I tried them and they're nice, but they just like they feel really weird when you wear them. They put those reinforced patches in like the knees and stuff.
Yeah.
They just don't feel like a jean or like a good like work material pant. I feel like every time I'm doing something a little like sketchy where I could rip them out, I'm like consciously thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna rip my pants right here, right now.
Yeah, I would be nervous about that, especially well, for me, I would really have to look at what they're made out of, because if I grind or throw sparks on them things and they just melt, I'd be like, "Oh,"
Yeah, exactly. You
because
don't need
that
that.
would happen. So what would you say that your biggest challenge has been so far in your career?
Um, I think for the most part, it's myself and like getting out of my own way when it comes to interacting with our customers and stuff. I found myself getting really nervous about showing up to job sites or like going to meet customers for the first time and getting in my own head about, oh, they're gonna know that I don't know what I'm talking about, or they're gonna put me on the chopping block just to see how far they can push me in terms of like, you know, does she really know what she's talking about, or is she just making all of this up and so I sometimes I think if I get out of my own head I do a little bit better with that, but just I feel like I really try to always know as much as I can and be as educated as I can when it comes to just interacting with even the guys that I work with. I don't want to sound dumb, which sounds stupid because I shouldn't have to do that, but I just always get in my own way when it comes to like interacting with people when they're like, "This is what you do?" Or they'll say like, "Oh, that's hard work." I'm like, "Yeah, it is hard work, but I do it every day still. I don't know. Sometimes those comments kind of get to me a little bit just because it's like I can do this and I am capable and I'm able to do this. All of the guys that I work with are very, very supportive of me being on the crew, and my dad is super, super supportive and willing to teach me and willing to pass down the information. And everybody that I've come across, for the most part, has been really good about just seeing me as an equal and not making it about, oh, you're a woman. So I haven't had too many bad experiences when it comes to that. Just like I've had a couple people make like comments, but you got to just let that stuff go. You can't let it get to you. And I think
Absolutely.
that's like I've come home a couple of times and I've like stewed over it and been like, I'm so mad about that. Then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, but why am I mad about it? Because I am capable of doing my job and I know what I'm talking about and I can build somebody a house and they can't. And at the end of the day, what does it matter, to them if they don't think that I can do my job? As long as I can do my job and I know that I can, that's what matters the most to me.
Yeah, for
hmm
sure. So what would you say that your biggest success has been in your career so far?
Getting my Class A CDL just like pushed me into this whole like idea of I can do anything I want because I was very, very nervous about getting it in the first place because I don't have a lot of manual engine experience as it is. And even a couple summers ago, my grandpa got pulled over by the DOT and he was in our dump truck, which is a manual, and it was rated for a Class B. And he had his chauffeur's license but didn't have his DOT card. And so the DOT officer let us off really easy, but he said somebody with a DOT card has to drive this vehicle. I was the only person on the crew with my med card, and so I had to drive the dump truck, and I was like, I don't have a lot of experience with the manual, so you're gonna have to like help me through this because I have to take off in front of this DOT officer. If I stall this out, he's gonna be like off the road right now. So my grandpa taught me how to drive our dump truck, which is a stick. It was a 5-speed. We got a different one that's a 6-speed now, but and after I got comfortable driving that, we had kind of talked about me getting my Class B CDL just so that we have another like fully like good to go drive around the road. And I was like, well, if I'm going to get my Class B, I might as well just have my Class A because if I want to haul our mini behind the dump truck or anything at any point, you have to have a Class A CDL. So I have to go to school. You have to go to school now in Michigan to get your Class A CDL. And I went through the schooling and I got to drive a semi with a 53-foot trailer on the back of it. And I was just like, man, this is hot girl stuff right now. I'm doing it, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. They tried to make me be a truck driver during COVID when our company was slow for a little bit, but they would only give me like a pickup truck with like a trailer, and I couldn't even like back that shit up. I would have to like pull up at a gas station to where I knew I would never have to back up
Turn
because
around.
I'm not good at that. It's
Yeah,
hard.
I was very nervous about it, but I've had a lot of experience backing up trailers, so I was comfortable in my abilities to at least back trailers up. But, you know, you get into a semi truck and you're sitting way up high off the ground and you got a big trailer behind you. It's a little bit different experience, but after I took the courses through Regen Trucking School in mid-Michigan, and I took my road test, I was like, man, if I can drive a semi, dude, I can drive anything. I can do
Literally.
anything. Like, I'm not afraid to try to operate something like our excavator. My dad last winter fell off a ladder in our shop, 14 foot up in the air, blew apart his rotator cuff. And he was like, you're going to have to learn how to operate the equipment, like, because I can't do it. So you're going to have to do it. And so, which I had experience in the skid steers, so I was comfortable enough with that. But at that point, I had never run our Mini before, and it was an older Mini, like mechanical style.
Mhm.
So I just brought it out to my boyfriend's house, and we dug a bunch of holes with it and got some experience on it. And now I dig in all of our foundations. I just did a 2,500 square foot basement with a
Wow.
100 class excavator, and I'm like, man, I can do anything. Like, if I put my mind to it and I just learn it and have the time to learn it, I can do it.
Hell
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. So if you could give one big piece of advice to a woman who's just starting out in the trade, any trade or your trade specifically, what would it be?
I would say for like just in general, if you want to get in the trades, the best thing to do is to expose yourself to the trades or like go to some of the women in construction seminars because there's a lot of people there that are really willing to like lift you up and help you out. And the one that I went to was very focused and like centered around the union, which some people do really well in the union. I've never really been interested in joining the union, but I have a different experience with the family business. So it's good to like expose yourself to different people and to get stories of other women in the trades because you can talk to any tradesman out there and they'll tell you like, oh, this is how I did it. But it's different for us in a way because we have to show up every day and prove something every day. Where those maybe guys don't have to do that as much as women do. And so as long as you're willing to put in the work and sometimes be the laborer and run the shovel and do the dirty work, you can make it. You just gotta work to get the respect of the old guys because I feel like that's the hardest part is just getting people to respect you and say, okay, she does work hard and she can do this and it's not something where it's like you just get to walk onto a job site and they're gonna, stick you in a machine and say, have at it. Sometimes you gotta do the grunt work and you gotta do the hard stuff to get to the top. And so, especially in the concrete industry, like I said, I can't speak for the union finishers or anything, but it's hard to learn at first because it's all hands on. You can't show somebody how to finish concrete. They have to just do it and do it and do it until it clicks. And so the best thing to do would be get yourself on the job site and kind of get exposed to the different parts of pouring concrete from the time it comes out of the truck until you walk away with a broom finish or a smooth finish on the floor. You just need to be on the job site experiencing every part of it in order to get better at it, truly.
Absolutely. It takes a lot to learn everything. So, just being there, paying attention, it can really pay off. And, sometimes it's not hard to outwork some of the newer guys and stuff too when you're starting off because they don't know either. So as
Yeah.
long as you are just picking up tools and actually trying, your foreman or your supervisor will notice that. Like,
Yeah.
depending on your crew, it can be pretty easy to outwork some of the younger generation of men, unfortunately. I've
Yeah.
seen it time and time again.
And we've really struggled trying to hire people in the last couple years, trying to find guys that are willing to work, because a lot of what we see is young people, which I'm only 23, so I'm not going to be like young kids because they're all my age.
Yeah.
But I grew up with a generation of parents that really believe in hard work, and if you want something, you're going to work for it. You're not going to be handed it, it's not going to be handed to you. So I was lucky in that aspect because they instilled a work ethic in me really, really young. My dad's always worked a manual labor job, and my mom's always worked, and my stepdad has always worked animals with me. He was one of the first people to show me how to be like a good steward when it came to taking care of cattle. We raised cattle when I was younger, and he always had me. I was the one doing the hard work. I was shoveling and feeding and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I have to thank him for that because he instilled in me. Even at the end of the day when you're tired, those animals still need to be fed and they still need to be cared for. So, yeah, you just have to work hard and kind of keep pushing through. And some of the younger guys that we've hired in the past have kind of struggled with that, I think. And maybe they're not like the hardest workers in the world, but it was hard like COVID time when everybody was paying like a lot of money for anybody to come work because nobody could get anybody to work.
Yeah.
Now some of the kids with no experience wanting to start out at, $25-$30 an hour, you you just can't. Like, you got to learn it. You got to start at the bottom and you got to work your way up because you're not entitled to what these old guys that have done this their whole entire life, start to finish, they could pour out a pad by themselves. Like, they don't need you there.
Yeah.
You need to learn it, and I think that's a really hard idea that some of like the younger generation of people just feel very entitled to a salary that they don't have to work for.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of that's been a struggle for us is, we want to pay guys really good and we want to take care of them and want to keep them around, but you got to show that you're willing to put in the work too.
You have to earn it. Like, just as anything else good in life, it does not come easy. You have to earn it. And I
Yeah.
see it with welders so much. Literally, 18-year-old kids, they just finished welding school. They don't even have their pipe certifications. And they're like, "What, you're not hiring me as a journeyman?" No, you know literally nothing about pipe fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can weld a little bit, but go weld in the field and let's see if you can even do it because like half the time that's a whole different monster than these kids that are in shops or whatever are used to. And they
Yeah.
come out and they cannot weld in the field. They're scared of heights. Yeah, so why are we going to pay you journeyman rate? And they just don't have the knowledge. And I have to explain that to like a lot of my followers who are looking for jobs, like welding jobs and stuff. I'm like, you got to start out as a helper, as an apprentice, or at least add a lower wage if you're going to start out like boom as a welder out the gates. Like, it's just,
You've got to earn the respect of the people that have been in the trade for years and years and years. You don't get to just come out the gate swinging thinking you deserve journeyman salary because you don't have the experience under your belt. You don't have the knowledge and the tools and all the stuff that comes along with being paid, for your experience. And that's the biggest thing in the trade that a lot of young people don't understand is if you don't have the experience, then you better have the knowledge. And if you don't have either of them, then what are you bringing to the table,
yeah. So I
But
think I already know the answer to this, but where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
hopefully in 10 years, my dad will be ready to retire and I'll be taking over the family business. At this point, right now, we're pretty strictly residential. We don't do a ton of commercial. We do more like smaller municipal jobs. But I'm hoping in the next couple years that we can kind of push through and get into more commercial size jobs and get some bigger stuff coming down the pipeline so that we can get, a bigger crew and keep growing and growing. Because at the end of the day, that's the American dream, to have your small business, take off like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think in 10 years, hopefully I'm got my own woman-owned construction company, Woodbridge Concrete and Construction, and I'll just be doing it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, did you have anything else that you wanted to add today?
I think the biggest thing that, like, if there's nothing else that I do in my career, one of the most important things to me is being able to be an advocate and a voice for people that, you know, want to get into the trades, or maybe they don't know that they want to get into the trades yet, and they are looking to kind of push themselves into something else. Even if you are the top student in your class and you think that you have your life figured out, trust me, you don't. You can do whatever you want to do, and even if you're even little girls that are, in kindergarten, if they want to grow up someday and be a construction worker, that's what I want. Like, I want to push these kids, and even like adults that are unsure about what's the next step for me in life, consider the trades, because there is a lot of opportunity within the trades to further yourself and learn a skill that can feed your family or can keep you busy when maybe the stuff's kind of backing down and the work's not there. If you know how to put a roof on a house, then you have a skill that may be able to feed your family another week, so
Yeah.
just kind of pushing people to explore the trades, or pushing women to explore the trades and not be afraid of the men, because there is some bad ones out there, but there's also some really good ones out there. And if you can find the good ones that are willing to teach you and help you and kind of look after you, you know, those are the ones that you want to be involved with, not the guys out there that are being creepy and scary and gross. You want to find the good ones out there. So,
Yeah. And just tailing off of that, right now, especially down in my area, residential construction workers are needed so bad. From plumbers to roofers, like you name it, people cannot get plumbers to come out. They cannot get electricians to come out because they are all so overwhelmed. So now, if you have those skills, is the time to literally take off your business, start doing it, because like you said, you can feed your family sometimes easily if you have a successful business. Like the few people I know that are doing like plumbing and bathroom remodels in my area, they're killing it and they're literally booked out months and months and months. And I can't even get someone to come out to do my bathroom. I'm about to do it myself because I have the skills. I'm just lazy.
yeah, there's definitely a need for it. I think in our area right now, a lot of what we're seeing is people that have been maybe laid off or are kind of like looking for work are coming out with their own small construction companies. And so our area kind of has this like overwhelming amount of like handymen right now. And so it's kind of hard to compete with those guys sometimes, because when you have a one person crew that can come in and, do your whole bathroom remodel, they may not be licensed or insured, but they'll do it for you,
Oh,
like
yeah. Oh,
that's
'cause
kind of,
I've had a lot of people be like, that's why I'm saying start a licensed and insured business, because I've had a lot of people be like, "I'll do it. Yeah, I'll come over and I'm like, can I see your like what is your license or your business?" "Yeah, I'm I work under someone." I'm like, "Under someone?" I'm like, "Hell
yeah,
no, you are not touching my house."
I'm not licensed or insured, but I've done it my whole life. We've heard that one before, and it's like, okay, yeah, let's
Great.
see how
Yeah.
the state of Michigan is going to take that. Not well,
It's
but yeah.
crazy.
It's kind of hard to compete with some of those guys out there, just because they don't have to pay for all of the stuff that comes along with being a legitimate business. And so when you've got those costs associated with that, then these like smaller guys come underneath you and outbid you by 15 grand. It's like, okay, well, whatever, like it is
Yeah.
what it is. But at the end of the day, we know that we're legitimate, we're licensed, we're insured, and that's what matters. So
Yeah.
it'll bite those guys
Absolutely.
someday.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it happen. Like I literally have, and I've just been like, "Ooh, I've seen people doing side jobs under sketchy businesses and it all goes downhill."
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that is why I did not come do any plumbing for you because you asked, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, just last week we had a tornado. Okay, it was very small. But it came with some heavy winds, and somebody that was building a barn, the trusses fell off the barn, and the barn split open like this. And so, like, imagine that you're building a barn for somebody you're not licensed and insured, and then you just lost, $6,000 or $7,000 worth of trusses that you
Yeah.
have to replace. Like, that's kind of scary, but these guys I know are licensed and insured that were doing the building, so
Yeah, that's
thankfully
good.
they have it covered, but still at that, it's kind of like, oh man, not good.
No, definitely not.
Mhm.
Well, I think we had a really good chat today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun, and it's kind of cool to get to share your story. It's hard to like sit here and talk about yourself and how you got to your spot, but I think it's good for people to hear different aspects of how you can get into the trades, or, different stories about this is what I did and how I made a difference. And
You did
yeah,
great, though. You did a really good job. Like, you would think you do this all the time, so
thank you. I
of course.
appreciate it. Well, my mom is like, she's very into public speaking. She's a public speaker for the ag space. She's been in the trades in the ag industry, I guess, now for like 11 years, and she's just been pushing her way through and really like bulldogging her way to the top. And she's like one of my biggest inspirations about just being a voice for yourself, because
Yeah.
I mean, she's on podcasts and speaking in front of crowds all the time, and I'm very like a recluse, introverted
Me
person, and
too,
she's
me
kinda,
too.
like doing her thing, and I'm like, wow, mom, I wish I could do what you do, but never in front of a crowd that big.
Yeah. That's what this is just like like a yap session. People are like, "This is just like a FaceTime yap session with the girls." I'm like, "Exactly. It's chill. We're like no stress, not formal." Like, yeah. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share my story.
absolutely. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. If you guys aren't already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you.